Hey, McDowin here. Today we are taking a look at the Party Pack Squad Mode 5-pack set from Jazwares. This is a Target exclusive, as the sticker says, and I picked this up for about $49.99. Now, with all Target exclusives in the US, they are sometimes released to other stores outside of the US, so if you're outside of the US, you might have a chance of finding this. Somewhere else, just keep your eyes out. I've seen almost all the Target exclusive sets available somewhere. Alright, let's flip this thing around and look at the back of the box. We have a cool looking group shot back here of Molten Omen, your victory has been burned in fate. The Silver Ice King, all hail the ruler of ice and snow. Frozen Fishstick, show 'em how fresh frozen can be. The Red Ultima Knight, yet the last word. And Bash, when good llamas go bad. Down near the bottom is the cross sale, and oh man, look at all of these new figures. Now, well, we've seen Kit, or at least I've reviewed Kit, but the rest of them are going to be brand new, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of these figures. And for those who want to see the barcode, here it is. Alright, let's get these figures out of the box and take a look at them. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please subscribe so you'll be notified of future videos. If you want to help the channel out and you play Fortnite, please feel free to add my creator code to your Epic account. It's McDowin. The Ice King is a legendary skin, and he is part of the Ice Kingdom set. He was available in the Chapter 1 Season 7 of the Battle Pass at Tier 100. Bash is an epic skin and can be purchased in-game for 1500 V-Bucks when available. He's part of the Leftover set and was first introduced in Season 10 of Chapter 1. Red Ultima Knight is a legendary skin, part of the Fortnite set, and was part of the Battle Pass for Chapter 1 Season 10 at Tier 100. Frozen Fishstick is part of the Frozen set. Or Frozen Rarity, I guess. He's part of the Polar Legends set that was available for $24.99 in Chapter 2 Season 1. And finally, Molten Omen is a Lava Rarity, part of the Dark Fire bundle at $29.88. And he was available in Chapter 2, Season 1. As far as accessories go, we get the Ice Sceptor harvesting tool for the Ice King. Looks about the same. We've seen this before. We get the Molten Strikers dual harvesting tools. These look pretty cool. I like the kind of like the flame appearance, like right here on the edge. Bit of a nice little shine to them. I think these look really nice. The Abominable Axe harvesting tool. This is crazy. It's frozen ice block. It's got fishes just kind of sticking out of it. What's neat is they didn't just stick like the back end of a fish out. It's actually the whole fish is kind of like in there, so you can kind of see the rest of it. Got the stick sticking up the middle, and even like right in here, there's like an entire fish that's molded on the inside or put on the inside of it. Just the little detail on this harvesting tool is really cool, I think. It's very nice. This may be my favorite of the set. We get the Vanquisher harvesting tool. This is a big, heavy axe, and this is a big head. We've seen this once before with the other version of Ultima Knight. It's still a very nice looking harvesting tool. And the Razor Smash harvesting tool that comes with Bash. We've seen this briefly once before with the Bash solo figure. It's still a good looking harvesting tool. I really like the saw blades sticking out here. And the gold horn, unicorn horn, a llama horn, whatever. It's the look is really, really cool. We get 5 of these grass building material figure stands. There's the peg, so you can peg the figure on. And finally, for any set that comes with building material, we get the Fortnite Building Tips and Tricks guide that explains how to put building material together. I find this to be a very interesting set in that Frozen Fishstick is the only actual new character figure. 3 of these are repaints of previous figures. That's Ice King, Omen, and Ultima Knight. And Bash over here on the far right is just simply a re-release from the solo version we got earlier in the year. Now, Frozen Fishstick can be purchased with this new wave of drops that we're currently in the middle of as a solo figure. And if you don't have Bash, you could skip on these 2 solo figures and just get this whole set, and all 5 figures are going to be brand new then to you. So this could be a really cool set in that regard. So as you can see, they're all about 4 inches tall. There's a couple of them with a little bit taller heads over here, and they have 28 points of articulation. Let's jump in and look at that articulation. I'm going to go over all of it, or all of the figures articulation, because if this is a brand new video, if one of my videos is brand new to you and this is it, then I want to give a full featured review of these figures, even though 4 of these figures have been released and I have gone through articulation before. Let's jump in and start with Frozen Fishstick right here. And he looks really cool. I really like this one. This may be my favorite of the entire set, and I don't like the frozen fish stick in-game at all. Anyway, so let's get to it. He has a really cool head that rotates and bobbles all around. It's on a nice loose ball joint, so it's kind of a bobble fish. His arms at the shoulder rotate. You can lift his arms up about that far, and his elbows have a rotation and a hinge, just like that. He's got a little bit better than 90-degree looking here, but that's because the arm was molded with a bit of a bow to it, a bend to it, so it looks really nice. His wrists have a rotation and a hinge. They work very well. His torso wiggles and bobbles and bibbles or whatever all over the place, and his waist rotates quite well. If you want him to sit, well, he can sit about that well. Sitting's very important nowadays because we've got vehicles in the line now. Cool, actual, usable vehicles. So sitting is a big deal for these figures now. At the thighs, he rotates. He's got a rotation. He's got these little jagged edges. I can't remember in the game if they're like chunks of ice attached to him or what. But when you go to rotate them all around, they might bump. And so just be aware of that. He's got double pin at the knee. And finally, his ankle area is a bit of concern to me. He's got a rotation and a hinge. Now, this ankle is a very narrow, very fragile looking piece on the figure. If you just grab the toe and move it up and back and forth like that, you might break the peg that attaches to that foot. You're going to want to hold the entire foot as you rotate it up. And as you can see, it has quite the range of motion there. So I'd rather you not break your foot, so I'm trying to give you some advice on how to move it. This is not something you're just going to grab and twist, because you will break it at some point. It's a pretty fragile piece. One thing I didn't mention was his splits. If you want him to do the splits, he can do that. He's got a pouch over here on the left side of his waist. That will prevent his left leg from going up all the way. As I said, though, I think this is a pretty good figure. I really like this figure. We'll set him back, and we're going to proceed to the Ice King and go from left to right. I started with Fishstick because, well, he's brand new. So Ice King has the same articulation as before. Nothing's changed on this figure, as far as I can tell. His head rotates around nicely. He can look down, and he can look up a little bit. If you raise up his arms, the shoulder pads, the shoulder armor, only allow him to go up that far. We can rotate him around. His elbows rotate and hinge quite nicely. He doesn't get the range of motion like Fishstick does, less than 90 degrees. His wrists rotate and hinge as well. He's got a nice torso wiggle, and you can grab him by the waist and rotate. However, I would caution you to be careful doing that, because that's where a lot of this soft rubber decoration outfit is, and it's soft and it's pullable, and I wouldn't want you to grab this and rip it. So you might want to be careful twisting his waist around so that, and also it actually looks like the white paint on the soft rubber could be something that's pretty easy to eventually rub off. I don't know, it doesn't look that great. It looks like I've handled it a couple times now and it's starting to wear off. So yeah, be careful, be watchful of that. If you want him to do the splits, he can do them quite well. If you want him to sit in a vehicle, he can sit about that far, like that. He's got the standard thigh rotation, works quite well. Double pin at the knee, and a rotation and a hinge at the ankle. His foot goes back much further than it goes forward. In fact, because of the armor on his boots, they don't really go forward at all. But that is this Ice King, which is very cool. And I'll tell you why I find this very cool at the very end. But I really like this. I'm glad we've got the Ice King, and there goes Molten Omen. But he's next anyway. I'm not going to really do a lot of rotation or articulation with his head because he's got this hood on. And if he's anything like the original Omen that I've got, when you take this hood off, there's a little peg that pegs into his back here. It's very difficult unless you glue it to keep that on. Mine falls off all the time, and it gets very, very annoying. So, but you can rotate, move his head back and forth, just kind of push his nose and mouth back and forth. His arms rotate all the way around, and what's really kind of cool, I think, is when you lift up his arms, the shoulder armor that's on the arm portion tucks under the shoulder armor of the torso portion. And I think that's pretty cool. The left hinge at the elbow is stuck on me, so over here on the right side, he's got about a 90-degree angle. I think it looks really good. Rotates as well. Very nice. The wrist has a small problem in that there is on the forearm, the gauntlet area, there is a little piece here. And you can rotate, or you can hinge the hand back about that far or that far forward. So there's a bit of a hindrance right there. Torso moves just fine, waist moves just fine, and as we get down to the lower portion of the figure, everything moves just as well or as good as you think it should. He does the splits quite well. If you want him to sit, he does very well as well. And his thighs rotate very well. I'm going to say that a few more times. He has double pins very well. Wait, that doesn't make sense. One interesting thing also on this figure is something I will tell you about, and that is he's got a ball joint that connects up to the leg and connects down into the foot. So when you rotate this back and forth, there are two possible places you could rotate. You could rotate the foot section, or you could rotate up in the ankle section. If your foot ever gets, or if his foot ever gets off and you bend it up and it's kind of off like that, you're going to have to rotate the ball joint back. Only a few figures have that kind of articulation. The ones that jump to my mind are Wildcard, Inferno, the ones that have like a suit bottom, some sort of a, I don't know, some sort of a long boot cover area. I'm not sure exactly why they choose which ones they do, but they do. So he's a really cool figure. Let's take a look now at Ultima Knight, the red version, as we knock over Fishstick and Bash. So he is probably the most hindered of all of these figures with his shoulder pads and his soft rubber down here on his waist. So his head rotates all the way around. That's the best part of this. He looks down and he looks up. Pretty good, actually. If you want to raise his arms or at his shoulders, well, that's about all you're gonna get with these nice shoulder pads. They will rotate, the arms will rotate around. He can bend at the elbow and rotate at the elbow. Pretty good. And finally, on this portion of the arm, he's got a good hinge and rotation at the wrist. His torso, as you can tell, wiggles quite well. He also is good at the waist. Now we get to probably the most difficult portion of this figure. If you want him to do the splits, well, gently you can take him about that far. If you want him to sit, well, this is about what you're going to get, and then you've got this to contend with. If you pop the figure apart, you can take this midsection off. So there is that. You can, pull them apart. He's got rotatable thighs hiding under there, double pin at the knee, if you can see that there, and a simple hinge and rotation at the ankles. We have done a lot of articulation in this video. Can you stand by for one more? Just one more. It's Bash right here. The llama gone bad. His head rotates quite well, looks down, looks up, and paint's flecking off from the joints as I do this. His arms rotate at the shoulder, and you can lift his shoulders up actually really well for this figure, I think. Put him back down. His elbows rotate and hinge. I actually think that might be backwards. So there we go. Yeah, I think I had them backwards, or at least that one backwards. His wrists rotate and hinge very well also. He's got a great torso. He's really loose in the torso and the waist as well. If you want him to do the splits, well, he can do them pretty good. If you want him to sit in a vehicle like the Whiplash, well, I don't know how tall he is for a Whiplash, but he can sit pretty good. He's got thigh rotations, double pin at the knee, and the ankle hinge and rotation. And that's it. Wow, that was a lot to say. I turned into a robot there for a minute, and just wanting to show the articulation of all 5 of these figures. But anyway, one thing what I find interesting about Bash, here's a little commentary, is that he makes me think he's like kind of designed like Captain America from the MCU, just with the star and the stripes and the colors and the armor outfit, and I don't know, makes me think, at least from the neck down, it's a Captain America style armor. But that's just, I don't know. Come on, stand. No, we need you to stand for the last few seconds here, because we're about to wrap up this video. Are you ready to wrap it up? Anyway, my overall thought is I really do like this set, even though I'm not a huge fan of re-releasing figures mixed in with new ones. The Chapter 1 set was a big deal to me. But, you know, if you didn't buy Bash as solo and you don't buy Fishstick as a solo, then these will all be brand new figures to you, which then, you know, that's pretty cool. Another thing that I really like is we are one step closer to completing the Ice King style set. This will be Ice King number 3. We've got one more coming out, the red one, in solo mode. And then we will have all the current Ice King styles, which is cool. And we're getting pretty close, I think, to Ultima Knight. He only has, what, 1 or 2 more styles they can release? And I think Omen has 1 more. So we're getting close. There's so many figures out. Oh my goodness, there are so many of these figures out. And so many more are coming in the future. Anyway, that is what I have for you today. Now it is your turn. What are your thoughts on the set? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, check out my recent review of the Mud Flap in the lower left corner. It's a really cool RC truck if you haven't checked it out yet. Anyway, thank you for stopping by and watching. Please like this video and share it everywhere. It helps the channel, it gets in the YouTube algorithm, and people are recommended this video more often, and then the channel grows and more of these videos show up. But anyway, I will see you in the next video.